For 3 years they fought side by side until one command ended everything. But did the clones really put up with the killing of their colleagues as easily as the film suggests? Did the clones feel bad after killing all of their Jedi colleagues and friends with whom they went through everything in the Clone Wars? Maybe. You have to take a closer look at the relationship between clones and Jedi from a clone's perspective. There is a really interesting scene in the 16th episode of the first season The Clone Wars. Pay attention to what Rex and Cody are precisely not saying.
You couldn't be a greater disappointment. How could you do this to your brothers?
Only a Jedi would ask that. It's the Jedi who keep my brothers enslaved. We do your bidding. We serve at your whim. I just wanted something more. And all you had to do to get it was put the rest of us all at risk.
When Slick depicts the clones as slaves of the Jedi, Rex and Cody react, well, I would say thoughtful. Especially Cody, who only looks gloomingly in the background. They didn't say how Slick was wrong and how the Jedi were their friends. Instead, they said nothing. I reckon when the clones thought about this more often, this concern would cross their minds more frequently. Not just in individual cases, but in general. Many of them probably felt this way. I mean, they were actually purely bred for war. Do you think were clones only slaves of the Republic, and were they only there to obey orders? Vote at the top right. The question is, however, if many thought like this, and we are actually talking about a relatively large slave population, then why wasn't there ever an internal uprising? One of the many reasons is probably that the clones still didn't question things very much. They've always lived in a clone facility and later on the battlefield, and most of them probably didn't long for it. If they would desert the army, they wouldn't just let down their comradely brothers, but also their biological brothers. The closest thing to a family bond clones ever had were other clones. The only clone of whom you wouldn't assume he would think like that was Rex. Probably because he was Anakin Skywalker's subordinate, who once used to be a slave himself, and therefore he obviously knew how he had to treat his men. I also doubt it is a coincidence that the 501st was supporting Anakin during the attack on the Jedi Temple as much as they did. Anakin always represented himself as just another part of the Union rather than putting himself above his men. Ultimately, many clones just wanted to be free, and the Order 66 was like a salvation to them. They could free themselves from the chains of slavery, and the Order was in some way an excuse to rise against their masters. Some clones probably felt a bit bad after the execution. Some may have even felt regret. Many of the cadets owed the Jedi Masters their lives, and the Jedi risked their own lives in order to save them. Certainly, there were also many clones who finally didn't feel suppressed anymore. They couldn't have known that it would get way worse under the leadership of the Empire. Anakin criticized often that some Jedi followed the war less intensely. They were aware that any other action would speed up the war. However, at times their own moral purity was more important to them than the lives of their men. A mindset many clones didn't accept. This was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you. Always.